Alright everybody, it's finally happened. The Metal Hand of God podcast has finally got an online merch store. It's located at teepublic.com. That's right, teepublic, T-E-E, public.com. Go there, to their website, type in MHOG, and a variety of art designs will pop up, where you can put them on t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, pandemic masks. That's right, we also have pandemic masks. The new fashion accessory for the year 2020 into 2021. We have wall art, notebooks, mugs, pillows, pins, you name it. Hey, you want stickers? Magnets? How about a phone case? That's right, you can get an MHOG phone case just by going to teepublic.com. A variety of sizes and colors, and the quality is hands down the best you're gonna find. That's right, MHOG merch store at teepublic.com. You're part of the family. Might as well really be part of the family and grab yourself an MHOG tee at teepublic.com. Thanks for listening to the MHOG podcast and for all your support through the years. We want to see those t-shirts outside, so go to TeePublic, order your MHOG merch today. teepublic.com.
I wonder where a guy, an everyday Joe like myself, can find a little action.
Do I make you horny?
Me love you long time, but me so horny.
What is your major malfunction, numbnut?
Give me some sugar, baby.
Hi guys, this is Max Cherky and you're listening to Metal Hand of God podcast.
Yeah, baby! Don't worry if you don't make it out alive. We'll give you your money back. Guaranteed!
And welcome back to the Metal Hand of God podcast. I am your host, Wayne, and with me tonight is a very special guest. Host? That's right, guest host. That guy over there, Vernon Smith.
Hi, that's me.
And we have an extremely special guest on the show, Mr. Casey Jost. What's up, man?
Hey, welcome. I think you almost said ghost, a very special ghost.
Yep, a very special
like,
ghost.
I die? Is this how I find out I died?
You come out and go, woo! For those of you who don't know the man, he is an actor, he is a writer, he is a producer, he is a man who does everything in the entire world.
Musician?
Yes.
I can't juggle. I can't. Let me think. I can't play sports very well. I do my best.
Well, I mean, as long as you put an A for effort, you know.
Yep.
But so Casey, man, we wanted to talk to you about some stuff, man. I just so happened to start watching your videos on YouTube, and they are hysterical, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you for watching.
Like really, like. Oh man, I love the Staten
Island
stuff. Jesus,
yeah.
man,
that was fucking hilarious.
The Cribs thing nearly killed me, man.
Oh, funny,
dude. I watched the one you're doing with your mom's house over like three times because it was so good. It was so good. I sent it to like 4 people.
Kitchen cut.
Yeah, I sent it to like 4 people, dude. I was like, look, you guys gotta watch this. This is great. It's so funny.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's funny. I think sometimes people don't think to, check those out or something, but I'm very happy. I should do more. I have such a hard time at like I don't think I'll ever be an influencer because my consistency is so bad.
I love the fact that the word influencer is now like a thing. Like people people put that out there, is that their job is that I'm an influencer. What the hell is that? When I went to school, I'm going, you know what? I wanted to be a fireman or a police officer. These sons that just grow up to be influencers. What the hell?
It's so crazy. It's really so funny that the term took off in this way. That's like, but I guess it makes sense. What it means is it's so tied into like advertising. Right. It's like, you have a big enough following that if you tell people to go to this site and buy this thing, they'll do it. You've influenced them to purchase something. And we're we're putting that on par with like musicians and actors. It's crazy.
I don't know, man. The world is such a strange place nowadays. I mean, and you guys know it straight up, dealing with the COVID stuff with filming Impractical Jokers and things like that. I know you guys had been stopped for quite a while due to the fact of the COVID thing. But how have you done during that stint? Like, did you do a lot more videos? Did you put out I know you put out some songs on here as well.
Yeah. So right when we locked down, we continued working, like kind of writing a little bit, and then we got word that we were gonna like take a hiatus, an indefinite hiatus. At first it was like, we're going to take 2 weeks off and then see what happens. And then that 2 weeks turned into, quarantine.
Right.
And I'm a person that like, as soon as like a job ends, I try to make some stuff on my own, just because I think it's important to like kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
On the creative side. So I had been also working on a live show that I was going to use a bunch of these songs that I then made for these like little Instagram videos. But it was originally going to be like a show called something like Casey Joe's Jukebox, where I let the audience pick what, like based on the song titles, like on a screen, they get to see what the name of the songs are, and whatever they pick, I would do. So I actually had like a bunch of songs written, and still more songs that I haven't made videos for. But then also I wrote some new ones and, edited them differently or whatever to make them more for like Instagram videos. And so that's what I did as soon as quarantine hit. Like I was like, I need some output. And then I just kind of took a break for a little bit. I think it happened like right when like George Floyd was murdered, and I feel like the climate like really changed.
Yeah.
And it was like it's so insane because the next song I had like on deck was a song called Potty Time. And it's like, am I gonna drop this the week that like a human being was like murdered in the street? I'm gonna take my time.
You're like, no,
I'm gonna put that out later. Yeah. I still haven't. I've it's all like, it's like on deck. There's no video associated. Yeah, I haven't like recorded a video.
Oh man,
but I'm like, I gotta finish Potty Time.
Yeah, man, you got to throw that down. I'm ready. I'm excited to hear this Potty Time.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think like at that time, I think a lot of comedians were like, what do we say right now? And right. This happens throughout time, like like after 9/11 and like a lot of things that happen where like the world sort of speaks out. I think like it's sometimes hard. And quarantine was like that too. A lot of my friends were like, this is devastating, and they didn't know how to react.
A lot of people have lost their shit during quarantine, buddy. Like I know a lot of people who really just couldn't handle the staying at home and not doing anything kind of thing. And we were talking to comedian Skylar Stone, and he was telling us that he says who really couldn't handle. He says, I know I'm going to come off like a sexist, but he said who couldn't handle the quarantine well was the women, man. Women started like breaking down and doing all. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. It's like my wife went crazy. I was like, okay.
I definitely handle it worse than my wife. My wife is like, I get to cook, I get to exercise, like all these things that she felt like she, like from going to work every day, like traveling into the city, working long nights and coming back home. She's like, I have an influx of time. But at the same time, it got hard on everybody. But yeah, I definitely felt like I still think I'm like in this fog from this year of like, who am I? It's like existential crisis. I think, right. I not to say that I can't say which who has it worse, but just from my experience. But also, I mean, my wife is definitely has just a better head on her shoulders in general.
Yeah, and also I think it's a lot of wives are the ones that don't work or mostly do stuff at home, and then all of a sudden your husband's at home all day long with you. It might kind of drive them a little crazy, you know.
100%. I definitely did. I mean, we had a conversation today just about chores, or almost like there's just things that I haven't been doing that I have to fucking do. And it's like it's and I talked to a friend about this because he started talking to me about like this one roommate that like doesn't do shit. And I had a realization. I'm like, I'm that, but it's like the roommate is my wife.
You're like, I'm the bad roommate, man.
I'm the bad roommate. Yeah, like I have to like get my shit like together. So it's really fun.
So you guys don't have any kids, right?
No, we just got a dog this year, but yeah, no kids.
Man, look, if you guys ever go down that route, it adds another exciting element to the situation. Believe me.
Yes.
In terms of like duties.
Yeah. It gets crazy. It's like, I mean, I have a 5-year-old and he's at that point where he's he doesn't want to listen to anything at all. Like I'm telling him what to do, and then he gets so angry and like yells at me, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Like you got to calm down. I'm like, you're only 5. I already see it. When you're 10, I'm gonna have to knock you on your ass. It's like that's what's gonna happen. It's like it's crazy. But I'm just, it's just like he's a good kid. He's pigheaded like his mom sometimes. Where you tell him, can you do this? No. I'm like, all right, but you have to clean your room if you want.
Yeah, that's when you
something,
take the question mark off the end of it. You're like,
yeah,
no, you can do this.
You have to, yeah,
do it.
Yeah. So
that to me is crazy. Yeah, I don't have a kid, so I have no idea. But I'm like, even with my dog, I'm like, it's like I'm like, she used to come to me when I would say come, or like we do this touch game,
right?
Where I give her a piece of food when I say touch, and then it was so good. I was like, this is great. Just in case, if I ever need her, I just say this word, and then it stopped happening. And I'm like, thinking about just your kid who like won't clean the room. Right. You're like, well, I said the magic word.
Hey man, look, I work at a vet clinic. I've been working in the veterinary field for like 26 years, and it's way easier to train a dog than a child.
I know.
Like you can yell at a dog, "Come here," and they'll come. It'll stop when you say no. They listen. You know what I mean?
I know.
Oh man, not a kid, dude. Whew. Oh
crazy.
Man, it's tough. But yeah, dude, I sat back today and listened to. I knew you were a musician. I knew you played music, and I listened to the way you made your bed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I make my bed from inside my bed.
From inside.
That was pretty awesome, and I love the fact that your wife won't eat your stir fry.
Yeah. I don't make good fried rice. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, that's what it's fried rice. That's what it was. Yeah. And the only the other one that brings bell to me was the one of where you were gonna be
the name.
The new cool was the one that I was talking about.
Oh, knew it being cool.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that one's like not even that was sort of like really not in it, like I think whenever I've written songs, whether they're actually. Writing comedic songs is relatively new for me. I've done it for other people, but like for performing them myself, I never wanted to get it twisted because so often I grew up playing in bands, and so I take it serious.
Nice.
But like, there's always a tone of like, there's always sort of a cleverness or sort of like a quirkiness to my songwriting where there is like moments that are comedic, but in the way that like I don't know, like Morrissey is like sometimes funny or. Or I'm trying to think of like there are certain artists that are just kind of like they have a line that's like that's funny.
Right, yeah.
And so I always thought of it like that, and I always wanted to keep it separate because I didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm Tenacious D. I wanted it to be like I'm like I play music. Like I grew up with like really loving Weezer, so I always feel like my songs always kind of sound like a Weezer song at the end of the day, and that song specifically does. And I had this idea for a video, and I thought it was quirky, but also not like the intent to be funny. But it is confusing, I think, for people who are like getting into me.
Well, what I thought was cool is like I thought that like when I was listening to the song, I was like, man, this is a really good song. I could see this being on the radio. And then you said you found a dead body, and I just started laughing. I was like, that's great. That's so good. And plus, I want to say in that video, you kind of look like Adam Levine a little bit.
Wow,
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
One of my
I'll definitely have to check that out then.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I don't look at comments a lot, but my favorite one was there's somebody who wrote, they were like, don't you feel like it's because there's a bunch of high school kids in it, but don't you feel weird that like you're an older person, like in your 30s, and you're like going after like a high school woman, and that's my wife in it. So she like loves that comment, and I had to say like that's my wife. She's actually a year older than me.
That's funny, dude. That's so good.
What a compliment.
Yeah.
See, I think you should have responded without and she's a year older than me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
That's my
Actually,
wife.
She's my wife, and I'm a musician from the 1940s.
That's good.
Minus the Coke bottle.
So do you any other? Did you actually put out albums and stuff, or are you just doing the stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, so it's the other thing that makes it confusing is like I've been in the band for a long time, and it's called Less Vinyl. We might continue to make albums. It's just fun to do. Those people I just really like making music with, but it's been harder. So everyone got different jobs, and it's harder to record. So I record a lot on my own. So I think that I put out an album of like a bunch of songs I made on my own, and then I started refining it every time. So I think each album I've put out sounds a little bit better and closer to like when I have gone to studios to record with the band. And I just like it. I enjoy it. But then I also, those Instagram songs that you were talking about, I put that out on, streaming sites along with those other albums I've put out.
Oh, very cool.
So I think it's like, okay, so this one album's comedic, but the other stuff, how do people know? So I have a new album of more like, just earnest songs that I'm putting out soon. And so I you never know how people are going to find it. I just hope they like whatever and don't like whatever they don't like. And I don't really care that much that it has to have a specific thing. I'm not, again, I'm not looking to be an influencer. I'm not looking to have a brand. You know what I mean? It's not like
it's on Instagram and YouTube, so you have to.
Yeah. You're already an influencer, man. Come on.
Oh, true.
For the ones that are on Instagram and YouTube, I mean, you mentioned that, like, you really can't cook stir fry, and and whenever I saw the bed one, I was like, man, I might actually try that. So
same
influence +1.
Boom.
And I only saw just a few of the songs. Mostly, I was watching Staten Island stuff.
Right.
For the songs, are they mostly things that do come from real life, or is it like, oh, I've got this would be something funny, but instead of doing like writing a bit about it, I'm just gonna write it as a funny song?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot more stand-up, and I would have these premises, and
Nice.
you like, and I also came from like a real improvised background, so I think most of the time, like when I'm writing a song, like the ones you mentioned, like sometimes I'll just like stream of conscious, like be playing the song or listening to the song that I like, or listening to the instrumental that I had just recorded, and then be like, oh, this would be funny if I said this, and then I would extrapolate from there. And like improvise, like, what does that mean? Like, there's a thing in comedy as you're writing where you're like, if this is true, what else is true?
Right.
Meaning, like, oh, if I'm saying that, like, I just like the idea of like fried rice. Like, I can't make good fried rice. And I just like, especially because it sounded like it starts and it almost sounds like it's like a pop song, like an NSYNC song. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's funny to me to be like, what if NSYNC was like, and this is not really what the idea of the song is, but in my head, I'm like, what if NSYNC had a song that was like, I can't make good fried rice? And I just liked that cadence. I said those words, I think, I said something like it when I was like just making up dummy lyrics in my head. And then I just followed that rabbit hole. And that's typically what happens. Like, I had with a joke with my friends was that is how I make the bed. like the one where I make it from inside. And I had shot just on my cell phone. I had shot a video of myself doing it and sent to my friends. And they were like, "This is insane. You should be in a mental hospital." Like they were all like, "This is this is nuts. Like I can't believe you do this." And they're also like, "But side note, I am going to try it."
Right.
And then, so I had that idea to do something with that, and then I think I don't know. Like usually it comes like I'll just sit at the piano or with a guitar and play some chords, and then whatever mood I'm in, decide like what that is going to be like. Like there's this one of the songs I have is that like it's me I'm in my closet. I keep switching suits is the video, and it's like it's about how like my dad won't dance with my mom at events, like weddings and stuff that we go to as a family. So I have to dance with my mom, and like you know, I don't know. I call my dad a coward or something like that. But that's just a premise that like you know I thought of a while ago too. That I think as I was playing chords, I started singing something different, and then I was like, actually, this would be fun to bring this premise in for some reason. You know, it kind of changes each time.
Right. Do you find it harder to write it as songs as opposed to, you said like you've done a bunch of stand-up too?
No, I find it so much easier to make songs. I've been doing it for such a long time. I love writing music, and I think it's so easy. Like I've done projects where me and a friend Patrick Noth did a project called Chase and Rose, where we were like kind of like that group LFO that has that song that's like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah. And so we were like, why don't they have all this like whispery white rap? And so we put out 2 albums like that. And it was so fast and easy to write songs like that. Writing lyrics, writing that stuff, like, you know, just taking an idea and just beating the hell out of it with rhymes is something that comes really easy. I don't know why. I've like always liked it and always done it, whether it's comedic or earnest. And so that's much easier. And I also like I you know, in New York City, like, there's the stand-up clubs, which are cool, and there's all these like alt shows where, you know, the UCB theater, which was big, and a bunch of these small shows, and it's nice to be on a bill and do a bunch of songs in between stand-ups because it just breaks up the night a little bit. You know, it keeps the crowd engaged, and I've always really liked that. And I you know, by performing music my whole life, it's just easier to me than getting up and just having a microphone. Right. Which is a crutch. You know, it's definitely like a comedic crutch of mine, to have to do songs or something. It's a little like, I also, you know, I get down on myself that it's a little gimmicky or whatever, but it's it's fun. I like it.
But if you can do it well, which from what I've seen of yours they're actually funny. Like, and there's only been like a handful of people that I've seen that can like do it and it be funny and be good. And it's like, that's so no, that like, super mad respect for you for that, because that's
appreciate that.
That's like a really big accomplishment, I think.
Thank you. It's nice. I never stop and really think about that kind of stuff, but it's nice when somebody says something nice like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is only like a handful of guys that you said it with the music that actually. I mean, I've seen a bunch of people try it.
Yeah,
and it's really bad. It's really bad, like really bad. Like we've hosted the podcast used to host an open mic, and we used to do comedy showcases every once in a while out here. And man, you know, there was some real gold, and there was some real bad stuff on those shows, man.
Yeah, I remember like going to open mics and seeing like a person with like a ukulele, like. You know, but like do a few songs, and like maybe like if they did 3 songs, like one of them I'd be like, oh, that is good. Like, and I'd always be like, I think they need to change this, and that, you know, like the little like you kind of edit as you go, and you're like, you almost got it. But I think I definitely I have some old demos of ideas that I had. Like I had this one song that was called like I'm Gonna Murder Myself, and it's so bad. Like it's like, you know, it's that thing. I'm like, oh, no one's even heard it, and I'm embarrassed by it.
Come on, man, that sounds great.
But it's just like the way there's just no, you know, sometimes like early on in comedy, you're just like, let me try everything that's shocking and funny, and not necessarily like there's like too many jokes. Like a lot of things should just have one joke that you tell multiple times in different ways that's surprising. That's all you need to do. Like at the end of the day, that's kind of all you need to do. And then early on, though, sometimes you're like, what if I'll throw this in there? And it doesn't make sense. So it's just this like cacophony of
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You try to get
I'm
a
just
little
so
bit of everything.
eager to get it out.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you find it harder now to write jokes because of like the change in the world? Like you have to be so PC nowadays, and you have to be just walk that thin line, you know? Like
Not too much. I personally don't. Like I definitely have said things or done things that I'm like, oh, that didn't age well, or
Right.
That's a weird perspective to have. I think I was talking to a friend today about like an old sketch video I made in college that I was like, this would be ripped apart and like it's problematic and stuff, and there's a lot of, it's tough, like with that kind of thing. There's two sides to it, which is like, one is like, look, like at the end of the day, if it's just like a sketch where somebody said something, I don't think they should lose their career. But at the same time, it's okay to flag it and be like, this is not funny for these reasons. It's
Right.
It's a weird take. It's like, this is like, homophobic or racist, or I'm not saying like you should throw them in a ditch, but it is also to be like, so often I think people are like, it's free speech and you should be allowed to make these jokes, when you're like, well, I'm not that offended. It's more so it's just really hacky.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the thing for me, is like sometimes like when you're going to that well of like, there, you could make, I do sometimes believe that you can make any joke as long as it's really unique and a fresh take.
Right. Absolutely.
But I think often people kind of go for a hacky premise.
The shock.
Or a shock, like
For shock's sake, yeah.
It means nothing.
Just
There's
to
no
say it.
actual commentary, and it's been done 1,000 times. So that's, so I think, to your question, I think like it's not, it's just as hard as it ever was. There's just more scrutiny over what's been done before, and B,
Right.
what is rooted in some sort of I don't know.
Yeah. We
But
always
you're in New York though, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever like lived or worked doing comedy in California?
Yeah, a little bit. I've done stand up on the road, like opening for the Impractical Jokers, or doing some stand up for other reasons, or improv for other reasons. I actually feel like when I leave New York, it's interesting. It's like different things work. In other places, like I always feel like New York, like if a joke is like broad and like would hit at a big venue, it'll die in New York.
really.
Like unique, weird stuff that's like quirky would do well here and then die other places. So you just kind of have to tailor your set a little bit different. But in terms of like PC stuff, no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'd heard some things, like just hearing things from different comedians, like over the years, how like there are things you can say and it's not as offensive, like in New York, or even like just comedians like just busting each other's balls and stuff. Whereas like if they were doing that with fellow comedians, in LA or something, like people are like, why are you being so mean? It's like, funny. No, just tell me that your set stinks. That's all.
That's funny. Different venues definitely have different tones. Like you can get away with a lot at like the Comedy Cellar or like places like that, because I think there's just this. It's an institution of sort of it's all jokes and it means nothing.
Right.
But then I think when you go to other spaces, it's a little bit different. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I just think it's like
it's just different crowds.
Yeah, it's different crowds, and I think like. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put a finger on exactly it. But personally, I can only speak to myself and the stuff I write, and I don't overthink it. I don't really try to. I don't try to like. I'm writing always, and I think everyone should write for what you find funny,
right?
And then see where the chips land. With that in mind, I think it's good to question why you think something's funny, or like if it doesn't work, you should like regardless of race or of like a shock value joke. Like there are times that I'll just make a joke that I love and then it just doesn't always hit. It's either it goes above heads, or even if it just doesn't work, it doesn't land. And in which case I'll be like, all right, I really like that, but I gotta kill your babies, you always say.
Right.
And and so much of the stuff I've been doing in the last couple of years, is, aside from even quarantine, has been writing for TV and writing where you write something and then it's not going to go to an audience for a little while, versus like going up on stage and you're getting instant feedback. And you have to go through all these that's the thing. TV has so much like standards and practices, like S&P, like censorship stuff. So I've always kind of written in mind of it to get through those hoops and still be funny. There's a guy who I work with a lot. His name is Jake Van Wagner, and he's from Utah, and he grew up in the Mormon community. He's Mormon, and he's just as funny as anyone I've ever met, and he's never said a curse word. And
Nice.
I think,
Right. No, I mean, I love like a ton of, like dirty, comedy seller type guys. But Brian Regan is one of my favorites. Right. And he's said like maybe hell or damn.
Right.
Yeah. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but guys, Bill Cosby never said a curse word either. But look where he's at.
That's true.
But he never did any of that stuff on stage.
That's true. You're right. I can't. And that's one thing that we were talking about with Skylar was the fact that, how do you feel like he feels like if he tells somebody sometimes, I really liked, say Bill Cosby's his thing on this, or this and that, but being so like what they did in their, towards their end of their life, like their career, how they screwed up so bad later on. People are like, "Ooh, I can't believe you feel like you like them." It's like, well, dude, they were funny. I mean, that's you can't
that's
deny
when you have
that
to say
shit.
like, "Oh man, like Bill Cosby had this great take on this." Like in 1988.
Right. Everything's dated. It's old.
Yeah, I think it's like sports where you're like, this person has a lot of home runs, but they get an asterisk.
Right.
And it's like, and it's funny because Cosby, he got in trouble for it late in his life, but he was doing it at the height of his career.
The whole time. Yeah.
And like during his career. So, but you definitely can't take away what he had done for the industry in terms of being like, like having this successful sitcom as a black performer and like, and all that, the whole cast, that whole show. I mean, it's beyond just him, and also his stand-up influenced so many great people that's the thing. It's hard to separate that. You just have to understand, like, you don't know that person,
right?
And you don't have to like that person. You could, I guess it's tough because, there's this element of like some people you shouldn't separate the art and the artist, but can you separate the artist and the impact? Right. That's the question. And I don't think, I think you can, in that you could separate and be like, the impact that this person had is so important that it transcends it. Although it's not like I'm trying to give him accolades.
Well, no.
Just don't leave a drink open around him.
I guess at the end of the day, I probably won't have a drink around Bill Cosby.
Yeah, exactly.
A myriad of reasons.
So you said you write a lot of stuff for television and things like that, and I mean, I know you have you've written some stuff for the Impractical Jokers. You've done other things like was it Billy on the Street? You've written for that.
Yeah, I think for that I mostly was like a contributing writer, which means like I think I just submitted stuff at the time from home. Like I was never in an office or anything. But yeah.
And I just happened to read this thing where you're doing something with TBS's reboot for Joker's Wild. Does that exist? I never even heard.
That. So all right. So which wait. So this is interesting because I worked on Snoop Dogg's Joker's Wild.
Right. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, I worked. I think I wrote for the second season.
Wow.
And I don't know if they did more or if they have more. And I don't know how many seasons they did, but I worked on the second season of it, and that was really fun. It was like coming up with really fun, weird games and jokes for Snoop Dogg based on like his personality. So like the games were always like weed and hip hop oriented, and just pop culture at large, and in whatever guests we had. I think at one point I wrote a rap for Ice Cube and Snoop to go back and forth about being hangry.
Dude. That right there alone should be like your like crowning thing. Look, I wrote a rap for the two legends to rap against each other. That's so.
And they did it.
Dude, that's beautiful.
I just pulled it up because I have my like notes app on my computer, and so the idea would be, it would be that you had to guess what they were hangry for.
Oh my God, I need
and it would go back and forth where it would be like, I'm so hangry I could scream. Chill, homie, have some ice cream. No, Snoop. No, Snoop, I want something salty, man. Just chill out and help me understand. Gotta be airy and crunchy with butter. To be honest, I'm confused as hell, brother. I eat it when I'm chilling at the movies. I can't figure it out. But can you please? And then that's like what the guest has to answer what he's talking about.
It's popcorn.
Popcorn.
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. That's so good.
I haven't practiced these, so I don't think I did it justice. I'm sure Ice Cube and Snoop did a better job.
But how fucking
Well, if
cool
I
is
ever
that?
see either of them in concert, I'm yelling popcorn.
Yeah. I want to see this. Oh, dude, that's so good, though. I mean, like, I you know, it's really funny because I never even knew that show existed. I mean, I knew the Joker's Wild from the 70s or whatever it was, but I didn't know they redid it, and I was like, wow. When I read that, I was like, that's incredible.
Can I do another one, and you guys have to guess?
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay,
dude.
here we go.
Let's do it.
I think it always starts with Ice Cube, and it goes back and forth. And I think I switched to a Snoop voice.
Ooh, okay, go for it. That'd be good.
I'm so hangry, I could break something, man. Just chill, homie, and have some flan. This is already bad. Should be flan. Anyway. No, Snoop, I want a salty bite. Okay, cool down and describe it, all right? It's meaty, like jerky, but thin. Damn, Cube, I don't know where to begin. You snap into it like the Macho Man. Do you know the answer? I just don't understand.
Yes, a Slim Jim, baby.
Slim Jim.
Come on, that's great, dude.
So it was always. Brother. I loved writing for this show because it was so many like. There was like I would always throw in like a Funyuns reference or like stuff that's like weed, but also there's stuff that's like just hip hop. It was so fun. Dude,
that's the great dude. That seriously, I super appreciate you doing that because that was so good. That was so much fun, man. Damn.
Yeah, I think I wrote like 8 of those, which is so funny. That's too many to do, but it's
it's not enough.
It's not enough.
It was a nice feeling when they were like, oh, they need Snoop and Ice Cube need more, so you have to write more of these, and I was like, hell yeah.
If you ever want to write that for this show, I will give you a segment for our show where you can come on and you can do a make fun rap. I would in a heartbeat, dude. That's so good.
Funny. Yeah. Down. I told you. It's so fun to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Dude, you're always welcome to do that. That's so incredible. That was so much fun. I did find another thing that it said you were a part of is something called Above Average Presents.
Oh, Above Average Presents? Yeah.
Yeah. I what is this? Like, it seems like it's like a network that you guys are doing on. Is it online or is it actually on a TV show or how's that work?
I actually don't know if they exist anymore. They
really?
They were kind of like, there was a time where there was a lot of like internet comedy, like College Humor and Funny or Die, and they were that, and that model kind of didn't work. And so they made a lot of videos. They were affiliated with Broadway Video, which does SNL. Mm-hmm. And I made a bunch of videos for them at one point, and then now that's sort of, I think they're kind of on their way out, or they're licensing their stuff. They might, who knows? They might have like a resurrection, but I'm not sure exactly where they're at these days.
Oh, okay.
But it was great people making great stuff over there.
I was just curious because I've never heard of it before, so I figured I'd ask
Oh yeah,
what that was about.
I had made a bunch of videos, and that was a fun process because it was the first time in my life that I could go to a place and be like, hey, here's a pitch. This is what I would like to do, and they'd be like, let's do it. Nice. Because like so often, if I'm pitching an idea to like True TV or Comedy Central or whatever, there's like so many loops and then hoops and so many people to talk to, and they're like, maybe some people are like yes, but then by the time it gets to like, are you going to make it? It's like a no, and there's just in this industry, there's way more no's than yeses. And this was a place that was like letting younger, producers, comedians make stuff.
That's good though. I mean, yeah.
Nice.
And you're right. There is a lot more no's than there is yeses. And,
Yeah.
And I mean, but dude, you've done so well with the things that you've done. I mean, that should be one thing you should be proud of, man. You're doing really well with everything.
Oh, it's so hard to really, it's so hard to see that stuff when you're in it because, obviously like, success is something that people should self-define and never base it on, right. But, and also it's subjective, but, yeah, when you're in it, you're kind of like, oh, what's the next project? Like, what's going on? What should I be doing? And you're always comparing yourself. It's a grass is always greener situation for like other people doing things. I also grew up with like my brother, who's he's on SNL. He's like been killing it my whole life. But like, which was good though, because at like a young age, it was very much like, oh, I don't have to. I shouldn't compare myself to him because he's like, he went to the better high school and he had been better grades like my whole life. So that's always helped me. And he's also been the greatest, nicest guy who's like, he's encouraging, but also not like doesn't give out handouts kind of thing. It's like, and I love that. At the same time, it was good for me to just learn that at a young age, like, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, even though they're your blood relative. And my parents were always really good at always treating us differently. And our I think the way our brains are wired, like there's some things that are very similar because we're siblings, but our process is so different. So it's just cool. It's just interesting to see.
But what I was going to tell you, man, is I the first time I ever experienced you on television was when you were first doing was it Joker's Inside?
Yeah, I forget which one. There's Inside Jokes and there's Impractical Insider, I think.
That's what the first one was, Impractical
cool.
Practical Insiders. And I thought it was great. I love the fact that you were doing because me and my wife, dude, look, they might as well change the channel from True TV to Impractical Jokers television because I mean that's all it's running on that right now, and or has been. And
yeah,
and we've been saying that because like we watch it constantly, even if it's the same freaking episode, we watch it. But I loved when you started coming in because it was breaking up the same episode. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like, okay, we did see that episode before, but now we get to see a little more with you, where Casey was on, which was very cool. So it added something to it, and it kind of sparked my interest in to see who the hell that guy was, which was you.
Oh, that's nice.
And I think that was really cool.
Cool. Yeah, it was fun doing those. We did so many, like both between the Inside Joke series and the Insider series. There was just like a bunch that we did. Yeah. I think we just a lot for a lot of reasons. Like it was kind of hit or miss with fans. I think they were kind of like, oh, I think it wasn't brought in. It wasn't like brought in the best way, like from like either from True or through like with the guys. Like the guys came up with the idea, but we didn't know exactly when it would air and stuff. So it could have been like indoctrinated a little bit better. Yeah. But at the same time, I think fans were just kind of like, we want more of these four guys. And that's always been the case. Like whenever we bring people in.
Really?
Yeah. And like with, Fatone or with like Nitro Circus or with, any time that we bring in other things, they're kind of like, we just want these four guys. If anything, we would want like an hour episode. And this seemed like we was taking time out of the show, but it was really just taking time out of commercials. Yeah. So there was just like a mix, like there was a mixed bag of people who liked it and didn't like it. So I think also we found that it's so much easier to just use extra stuff, extra footage that they shot that day rather than film more stuff for the show.
Oh yeah.
So eventually we stopped doing the Insider, which I was surprised that I even got that gig because it was like working on this show has always been so amazing. It's like I was hired as like a musician that made the song, and then I was hired as like a writer that was actually just a PA because the show was so small. So I was like picking up vans, and then I was actually I was then formally asked to be like a producer on the show. And then I was like doing music for the show, and and then I was hosting this thing, and I was like, I can't believe this show, and I was a head writer at one point. It was like crazy that it was becoming so many things, and at the same time, I was also leaving. The guys were so nice to let me leave to do other gigs, so I would leave to do that Snoop Dogg show or whatever it was, and I took time off to do other projects, and then in the last actually couple of seasons, I've been full time again. But it's fun. It's been a real. And actually, this, as of right now, this month has been the 10-year anniversary of when I've been working on the show.
That's crazy that the show's been around that long already, dude.
It's been 10 years. Like the pilot it's 11 years for the pilot, like in October or November or something like that, and then 10 years for the actual when we started production on the TV show, which is really nuts.
That is crazy, man. That's how long we've been around. Actually, we've been around for 10 years, and like.
Oh, congratulations!
Thanks. We're not quite up to Impractical Joker standards, but we're good. We're all right, No, but we've been around for 10 years, man. We've been pushing and scraping and doing the things that we have to do to keep it going. And but still, I mean, it's just amazing to see how things snowball, especially for you guys with that show. I mean, when I first saw it on television, I was like, oh, this is funny, and then no one ever heard of it. I kept telling everybody, you guys got to watch the show, man. It's really funny. I'm like, it's a fun show,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's really, I think people forget at this point because the narrative now is like this show's been on for so long, or like the narrative is like it's like this true TV show that's always on TV.
Right.
But we started at a time that the network was completely different.
Yes.
We were like the fish out of water, and it was like they were taking a risk, and we didn't know. Every season for the first 5 seasons was, are we going to get another season? So season 1 we had 8 episodes. 8 episodes were greenlit for this TV show, and we were like, this is it. This is the biggest shit. And we made 8 episodes, and in the middle, like after a couple months of filming, they liked what they were seeing, and they were like, we're going to back order 8 more episodes for season 1, which is kind of like a roundabout way of being like, oh, we're not going to give you a season 2, we're going to give you a back order so that your season is now 16
Instead
episodes.
Of 8, yeah.
So it's which is great. We were like, okay, we were like, we'll
Thank
do 100
you
if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on.
At the same rate, but because it was, it's like it was so low budget. Like the guys were driving the vans, like the guys were like lugging gear. I was, we were all kind of doing that shit. For the first couple seasons, it was, once in a while, like you would just see Joe Gatto behind the van because
that's awesome.
Maybe like to like at the end of there was a spontaneous rap party at the end of the day, and like the guy who usually drives the van like had a few drinks, and that guy that I'm referring to is me. Gatto would drive back from Seaside, New Jersey, or like wherever else, and it was really fun. And it's so cool that that scrappy little show is what it is now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I still think of the show as that show. And I still think of it as like it's a miracle that we even get to make these dumb jokes.
What me and my wife always laugh about is like, I was like, all right, so this show's been on for a long time and it's always on TV, and you guys still find fucking people who don't know who those guys are.
Oh right,
it's amazing.
I forget because it's just so many people who don't even like watch TV these days.
Right.
They just have like, they have Disney Plus and they don't have cable.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I say, who needs cable anymore when you got all these streaming apps now? It's like, God damn. But
and in New York, it was always good to film in New York because you'd ask people, you'd have them sign a release, and they'd be like, "Okay, I've never heard of this show. I don't have a TV." Like people are like, a TV in New York is like, that's extra real estate. I don't have that. I use my own.
it's like a car, right? Like nobody has a car in New York.
No one has a car. A lot of people don't have TVs because they're just like, I'm barely in my apartment.
A person can sleep in that space. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where my baby goes.
I've actually never been to New York, and I've always wanted to go, and I hear it's a really cool place to visit, but I've never been. So.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Really.
Yeah, it's just a unique town. And it feels like being in another world sometimes. Like when you walk around. It's funny. Like I've been living in Brooklyn this entire quarantine. I've been Brooklyn for a long time, but today I had to think of where Herald Square is, which is a place I used to go to all the time. Or I was thinking of 34th Street, that area, and I couldn't remember the name Herald Square. I was like, what the fuck is that area called? I've been into the city like a few times, but I haven't been on the subway in a year, in about a little less than a year, like since it shut down. I haven't been on the subway, which is crazy. Like I haven't had to go in, and if I have, I actually have a car, so I did drive in a few times. I'm such a borough kid, like a Staten Island kid. I used to sell cars.
I mean, for you to not remember things, man, it's not like you're that old, buddy.
Oh, I know, and I grew up here, and it's like,
So can you actually like drive in New York now with how everything is all shut down? Like there's not like 3 hours of traffic to.
No. It's I mean it's the same. It's kind of the traffic was great for a little bit. It was dead. There was no cars on the road.
Yeah.
And I would just sometimes my wife and I would just joyride.
Yeah. Oh no, that's how it was here. Like we're based out of New Orleans, and I mean, but we're actually like in the kind of a suburban outer city of New Orleans, and there was one time like I had to go to a bookstore in New Orleans. They were about to close. It was like some book that my wife had ordered was in, and I was like, and I'd have to go through like the central business district, cut across town. Usually, like normally, not even in rush hour time, it would be like a 30-minute drive.
Yeah,
like with rush hour traffic,
30,
this
45
was like at
minutes.
5:30, and so like it would have taken me like an hour. I got there in like I think 8 minutes. Like, I'm just doing like 100 through everything. It's like Night at a Comet. Like nobody's on the road.
You said Night at a Comet. That's funny.
Yeah. There was two different times in my life. There was a big blackout in 2000 something, and I drove into the city just to see the blackout. And that was fucking cool.
I bet that was crazy, dude.
Oh my God. That was like coming over and seeing buildings that were just completely in the dark.
Jeez.
And it was like seeing dinosaurs. Like it was like sleeping dinosaurs. That's what it was like. It felt like you're like, oh my God, you're like, I'm driving past King Kong and he's asleep.
Right.
Like you're like, whoa, I don't want to, it was just so unique. And then you'd see candles in the windows and stuff. Like it was really beautiful. And and we went to a bar that was like all lit by candle, and like our favorite bar, and they were just like getting rid of stuff so before it like went bad, like beers and stuff, and
right,
or like it got warm, and liquor definitely doesn't need to be.
That cannot go to waste, people.
Yep.
Sure.
You must save it all.
You might have to drink it neat, but it's not a problem.
Yeah. I've only been to New York twice, and like I was in Queens and in Manhattan. And so, like, watching all your Staten Island stuff, like, dude, there are people like that here, and it was just killing me. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, these guys are everywhere. These just fucking, definitely is. Like, yeah.
It's true. Yeah, they are. It is everywhere now. It's like, there's a certain personality that I grew up with that I really kind of love. Like, lean into it.
And I was so upset. I mean, luckily there were like a lot of, like, I was watching your stuff on YouTube and like on your channel, and there were a lot of them, but I was so sad that they were only like a minute or two long each. And I'm like, no, I want more of this. I want more of this.
That's funny.
The best part was like how it was just like every 2 minutes I would just hear like first and foremost. I'm like, oh, that's my, I love that. That's my new favorite catchphrase.
That's so funny. Yeah. There's little things, there's little choices. I don't know how I don't know how I just decided to start saying that, but then just keep doing it.
It works, dude. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Don't
Yeah.
stop.
I gotta make some this week.
Hey, see, there you go.
Let's plug your YouTube and Instagram.
Sure.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think
Jost?
most of the stuff I've done, I've been lucky to get at Casey Jost. I don't have that on TikTok, but I also don't have anything on TikTok. So
Right.
Same with us.
this is an anti follow me on TikTok.
Yes. Well, we're not 13, so I guess. It's
Well,
okay.
you know, look, but you know what? Honestly, though, like a friend of mine, I'll say this: a friend of mine from the UK, his name's Mart. He also comes on a show and he hosts a show every once in a while. But his wife posted a video of how how they work out Christmas. It was like a minute or two video of like, because people kept asking her how she works out getting all the kids. She's got 2 kids, Christmas presents. So she explained how they did it. You know, minute or two. 95,000 views in a day.
Jesus.
In a day.
Wow.
For nothing. She's like, I don't know what happened. I went viral for no reason.
She's an influencer.
Yep. So see, I'm already coming up with an idea to splice some stuff together for TikTok. We actually have a TikTok page, but we don't have anything on it because we're all old bastards and don't really care about TikTok. But
I'm just at a point where I'm trying to like phase all of that stuff out,
right?
Just for my own sanity. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna like, as I'm like, I gotta get off all this stuff. I'm not gonna join a new one.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like it's so funny. People are like, I got a social media detox, and now I'm like, now people are like, oh, I'm gonna join TikTok too, and you're like, whatever happened? Like, you quit Facebook, but then you're like on this other thing that like sucks up even more. People go down these like somebody was telling me today, they were like, oh, I just accidentally lost like 2 hours to TikTok. I'm like, oh,
my wife does it all the time, dude. She'll sit down and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching some TikTok videos. I said, all right, I'll go in the living room and do some stuff or whatever I got to do. Maybe I'll sit down and play. Look, I played.
Make dinner. Yeah.
I played a video game for 3.5 hours. All right. I got up and I went in there to make sure she was alive because she was sitting there playing with her phone on the TikTok app. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what did you watch? Oh, I've been watching the same video from like 6 different people over and over again. I'm like, what the fuck? How's that fun, man? How's that good?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't get it. But
it's funny because I'm in a group with like some friends that, well, like a few of them will drop TikTok videos, and that's the only time that I'll see a TikTok video. And it's always like there's never a high. There's not really ever like a high height. It's always like the highs are like it's usually around the same place. Of like at most I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's okay. This is funny.
I didn't think about it. I guess I never thought about that. Okay. You know, whatever it is, it's like, okay. There's never like, oh my God, this changes everything.
Yeah, they could just rename the app,
Or we could start our own called, and it'd be the same thing, you know?
Yeah, I feel like everyone who watches stuff too, like goes through it and they're like, no one's even like ever laughing. You're just kind of like droning.
Yes.
You're just like this like robot going through it, and then you're like, I like this one, and you share it to somebody else because like you're like, this is what my personality is. Like this speaks to me. For some, you know what I mean? I'm not happy or sad. This is who I am, and you send it to people and be like, "Are you who I am?"
Yeah, right.
It's bleak. That's a bleak view, but
it is. But it's so true, buddy. It's you hit the nail on the head, man. It's just like a weird thing.
My 10-year-old daughter is into it, and she'll be like, "Oh, I got to show you this funny video," and I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, I'm not like, I'll tell her, I'm like, am I actually going to laugh, or am I just going to have this face by the time the video's over? And I feel bad because it's like, dude, I'm like 45 and jaded as far as like you got to be like really funny to make me laugh, and I feel, and she's just like starting out like, she's laughing at fart jokes and shit like that, and I feel like I'm like, oh God, you don't even know what funny is, but it's like, dude, come on. She's 10. She can laugh at it. And I do feel like,
yeah, I'm happy for that generation to have something like,
yeah.
I grew up with like Napster, and I had like Kazaa and like LimeWire.
Right.
And
LimeWire. Yeah.
I remember downloading like comedy sketches, and you could only get like 3 minutes of it tops, like, you know, and that would take you like a day.
Right.
But and I remember like finding weird stuff and like you know, and like finding it funny. And I guess I wish I had an app that would just like give me funny stuff or stuff to help develop my sense of humor.
Right.
But you know, I don't know. It's almost, I don't know, maybe too accessible. You're never like digging like for something, you know, like you have to wait. You just have to like get it instantly and like get your fix of memes or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But I support. I not support, but I get like it's fine for kids.
Yeah, and I don't want to be, you know, like like when my mom took me to go see Kiss when I was in 4th grade, and she was like, "That was nothing like the Eagles," and I'm like, "Oh God, you're so old." And
you know, you're
like
getting
29,
that way. You're getting that way, right?
Yeah, and right, yeah, and so I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be that, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, are these TikTok memes going to be the same as like, you know, a Carlin or Pryor album?
No,
you know,
it's never. That would don't even say TikTok and Carlin and Pryor together ever. That would never happen, dude.
Right, but you know that it's like back when that was out, there were people that were like our age that were like, "Yeah, this isn't funny. You need to have Bob Newhart on the phone."
Yeah,
it's telling like it's just. Yeah, I don't want to be like.
It's definitely. That's why like I've been trying to have my opinion be like it's not bad. It's just not for me. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
a little more open. Yeah.
And also, a friend of mine told me who was on TikTok was like, I saw this thing from what was his Frank Caliendo, who's on TikTok, and I never was a huge Frank Caliendo fan, but he described it as like an impression that turned from like it was like it kept going from like one guy to another, and it let's say it started with like Mark Ruffalo and became Joe Rogan, and it sounded really funny, and I was like, TikTok is good for like an impressionist, who you know can kind of do a thing pretty quickly, and it'd be funny, and I was kind of like, that sounds funny, like I like that idea, I just don't want to, you know, stare into my phone and have to watch that like and a bunch of other. You know, I don't know.
It was just like quick impression transitions. Like,
yeah, it sounded funny, and I think the line that made me laugh, just from my friend doing a version of it, which was just like, oh man, that guy's an alien, and it was like a very Joe Rogan thing, like he's talking shit about someone, and also it's also a conspiracy theory, and I just thought that was really funny. It was like, you know, this like funny take on Joe Rogan. I don't know. It was cool. I like the idea.
You don't need the minute-long Rich Little setup of if Richard Nixon was in a McDonald's,
man.
I think Ad Rock was like on. I love Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys.
Wow,
and he was on Sway in the Morning, and he was just talking about. They were asking him maybe about modern hip hop, and he was like, I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna talk shit about it because it's like he's like why do you care? You don't want to know what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. It's like for younger people. And
I saw that. Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter what I think. And he's like great about it. He's like, I don't really listen to it, but just because there's still so much stuff from the 60s and 70s that I'm still getting through.
Right.
You know, and that's like,
didn't he say something like, why would a 23-year-old care what I think?
Right.
You know, I'm like 45 or something. It's like,
he should and they shouldn't. They honestly probably shouldn't. Even though he's a legend,
except
and I think
he's
oh, he is a fucking legend.
I agree. But I also like the kid who does care about Ad Rock will probably be cool for other reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like it's this I don't know, contradictory, but also it's cool. It's whatever happens.
It's a generation gap, man. That's all there is. It's always been that way. Like my dad would look at me strange when I brought in like, you know, Deicide records or something, you know. It's like,
oh my god,
you know,
I was just talking to my friend about Deicide.
Really? No shit.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, hey dad, I got this record. He's like,
are we gonna talk about metal? I hope we can.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I love metal, and I actually really like death metal more than any kind of metal.
Really?
Because I'm kind of like,
wait a minute,
if it's not all the way, then don't give it to me.
Right.
And I should send it to you. I just recently reached out to an old friend who was in a band called By Fear I Fall. And he used to drive me to, we used to work together at a swim club. We were lifeguards, which is also so funny. Like, I love this kid who was like a metal head that was also a lifeguard. It's like, it never happened. Well, but dude, he was an anomaly. He was like really funny, really cool, like, you know, metal guy, but like, you know, crushed it in Staten Island.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't expect it. And anyway, so like he had this band called By Fear I Fall, and I can't believe how good they were for like kind of high school, college age. Right. They never practiced because my friend was always like at the same parties that I would go to, doing shrooms like out of nowhere, you know, or whatever. And then but like his band is so cool, and I listened to it recently, and I was like, this is great. Like it still holds up. And what I like about it is it's kind of classic metal, kind of like early Metallica, but with like death metal vocals.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. In fact,
I think they have two songs. I think they have 2 songs on Bandcamp.
In fact, I'll send you an entire CD over wherever. I'll send it to you through something. My old band. It's called Resurrection Man. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
And let you listen to that.
Please.
I was a vocalist for that band for 10 years, and then I started doing a New York hardcore style band called Breach for a while. Yeah.
What was it called?
Breach.
Cool.
Yeah. And,
awesome.
I know, Vernon, you've been in bands before too, right?
A little bit, like right after high school.
Mostly punk stuff,
like,
though, huh?
Yeah, we did like some original stuff, and then we would like do like a Melvins cover and a Misfits cover.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love the Misfits, man.
Yeah,
me too, man.
But like with death metal, my friend would play me 3 bands, or he'd play me a bunch, but my favorite 3 that I would request were Deicide.
Nice.
Corrosion of Conformity.
All right.
Oh, nice.
And Dying Fetus.
Nice.
I really like that.
You know what's funny is Pepper Keenan is in Crowbar from down here.
But he was in COC also,
right? Yeah. From down here in New Orleans, and my band used to share a room with those dudes. So for the Corrosion of Conformity reference, that was the original guitar player for that band.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
there's definitely like some early Slipknot I like too, and like weird other metal and like, you know, some classic metal here and there, and I like Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
But like those 3, like I liked, and I borrowed the CDs at the time, and I ripped them, and I still have them, and I once in a while, like if I'm in the mood, I'll throw on some death metal. But yeah, it's not like my first choice always, but I have so much respect for it.
I mean,
I get it.
a lot of people are always like, how do you listen to that? I'm like, well, I like a lot of different genres of music. I mean, I do. Mm-hmm. I range from mindless self-indulgence all the way to like Deicide and Morbid Angel. You know, so it's a big gap of stuff. And but if you look at the technical aspect of what death metal is, if you look at how they play music, they're some of the best musicians on the planet. Like, just the skill level alone. I mean, just as fast as they can play. A drummer that plays death metal is ridiculous. Like,
I love also like where they'll take a song.
Yes.
That's what I like too. That's the part that I think I always come back to is like, it's this way for a while, and then it goes to this, and then it always kind of goes to the surprising like place. And like on paper, I think most people will be like, this all sounds the same, because I think you have to like have like a tuned ear for it.
Yeah.
But that's what I always like, is that the songwriting.
Yeah, my boss is always saying, how can you listen? It sounds like 2 pit bulls fighting. I'm like,
that's funny.
Yes, that's why.
And I'm like, because I like it. And that was only, he always refers to Slipknot as the 2 pit bulls fighting, which I think is funny. I'm like, if you think.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
One time he went to a what's called it's no longer around. It was the Mayhem Festival that used to tour, and he went one year with his brother. I was supposed to go with him, but I couldn't go. And one of the he got to see Cannibal Corpse. And,
I was just thinking about them. That's
and Behemoth play, and he was like, wow, dude. He's like, it was insane. I was like, yeah, I told you that was really good. He said Behemoth was spitting blood and doing all kind of crazy shit on stage.
That's cool. Yeah. There's just something really fun about it. That's just, you know. that I like.
And to this day, I still I book shows out here. I book metal bands and stuff at a little venue out here. And
cool.
Yeah, so I always get like the local metal scene is thriving and still pushing, out here.
Oh,
so.
I mean, you can never kill the metal scene. I mean, like that. There will always be people coming back to metal. That's the best part.
I agree.
It's like professional wrestling. I always think of them similarly. Like there are people who scoff at it, and then at the end of the day, there's like these diehards that'll never go away.
And everyone has watched it at least one time in their entire life. Everybody's watched that Rush wrestling. Everybody has.
Yeah.
I mean, we all grew up with Hulk Hogan and, and of course, Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah, brother.
I love him. There is something interesting about like wrestling right now is like in an upswing, or it has been, and it's like $1 million plus, industry. And it's like, will metal have an upswing again?
I hope so.
I think it will. I think there's got to be somebody who will like kind of bring it back or make it cool, and it's probably going to be Bruno Mars, right, guys?
Yeah, I agree. I was going to think Post Malone, but all right, you got me with Bruno Mars.
Post Malone.
If you haven't seen Post Malone do his live thing he did with Nirvana covers, you should look it up on YouTube. You will love it. It's fantastic.
Oh, I think I have. He does like weird ones. He does like Milk It, right?
Dude, let me tell you, he played him, Travis Barker, and I forget who the other two guys were. They all did, like, before anybody started doing all these live streams.
Yeah.
Oh,
they put it together.
I did see some of those. Yeah.
They put it together, and they were one of the first people. They did it for free. Like, hey, we're gonna do something to help everybody relax. Do some entertainment. And Post Malone blew me away with his guitar playing and his singing on those songs, and I was just like, I got more respect for you now than I did before.
Yeah.
I saw it and I love it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I did
So
see
good.
it. I think he does. I think his choice too is really good.
Yes.
I think he does like some of the hits like Lithium and stuff, but I think he did they did a weird like an in utero one that it was like, wow, you're doing this?
Yeah, he did a lot of B cut type things, like stuff that went into In the Mind's Eye, but it was super, super good. And I actually ripped it on my iTunes because I was like, I gotta have this. It was that good to me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I gotta check that out. Yeah, I did have a lot of respect for him. Then he went all in on like Doritos commercials and like Post Limon, and I was like, come on, but that's I mean, look, we're gonna get I'm gonna be an old man again and be like, there's no selling out for this generation.
Everything's got to sell out at least once, man. Metallica did it, everybody else is gonna do it. So
yeah, that's true. You gotta, it's forever been based in commercials.
Yes, yeah,
and like selling products. That's what all art is, right?
You're right. And speaking of which, man, look, I know I cut you off before, but tell all these people out here where they can find you and all your good stuff, man.
Yeah, everything's at Casey Jost. I think Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. And if you want to hear more music, it's Casey Jost on streaming services. It's got the comedy stuff. There's some serious stuff. I'll let you decide which one's which. And yeah, and then, please. I hope you like it. If you don't, change how you feel.
That's right.
Give it another chance.
But all right. So Casey, man, thank you again for coming on the show. We really appreciated you doing this.
Yes.
Taking the time out.
So much fun. Anytime, please have me back. I'd love to come back.
Of course, 100%, dude. And I was serious. If you ever wanted to sit back and write silly
Drive
shit
some rhymes
and do those rhymes, and I will make a segment for you, bro.
If I could get Ice Cube and Snoop, I will get them and we'll do it.
yes, that'd be great.
I'll work on my impressions.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, again, thank you, man, so much for doing this. I was your host, Wayne.
I was your co-guest host, Vernon.
And that was Mr. Casey Jost. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to keep it metal!
Are you talking with such sweet sorrow?
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Okay then. That's it.
Get the fuck